Hey, just want to remind everybody, McCarthy Chevrolet has just installed a new machine on their service drive. They check alignment on every car that comes through. So make sure that go out and get your service done, excuse me, on your car, and they will do a alignment check on it as it rolls through the service area. How about that, Kirk? Is that cool or what? I don't know what this new machine is in their service drive, but just to be able to pull your car up and to check your alignment real quick while you're there, I like it.
That is
and
awesome.
They're going to do that for you on the again, the service drive at McCarthy Chevrolet. And also, don't forget, they've changed their website name. It is now CaseyCars.com. We've been telling everybody for years to go to McCarthyChevrolet.com, but it's simple. It's CaseyCars.com. You need a great deal on certified used cars, or if you want a Silverado, or you want one of the new great Chevrolets, some of the best cars in America, all you got to do is go to KCCars.com. And, again, thanks so much, Brian Schaefer and everybody out there at McCarthy, for all the support they've been giving us this year, man. It has been just off the chart. They've stepped up and made sure they want to be a part of the RacinBoys, and we couldn't thank them enough.
Ben Shelton is joining us right now from Eldora Speedway. Ben, not a good Friday. Mother Nature kind of intervened, so it's going to be a big day today out there. Is it underway yet?
No, it's not underway. I'm actually en route to the track now on the Ohio back roads, and we're going to have drivers' meetings about 11, hot laps around 11:30 today. Beautiful day, though. I tell you what, it's 63 degrees right now, and sun's out, and it's going to be a little muddy, but I think it's going to be a good show.
Hey, Ben and Scott, what are the concerns there about having a day race? Kirk and I were talking about, what year was that, Kirk, when we went to Eldora?
2007.
2007. That thing was blowing dust. I mean, something terrible, but it was great racing action. What's the concerns about the conditions of the track and putting these laps on it during the day?
Well, it's not a huge deal because really the way the format works on this day, we're going to, they're going to come back and, well, first things first, if you haven't ever been here, they do things different. You do 2 rounds of qualifying. You draw 2 numbers. You get 2 single laps at different times. So because it's a day deal now, it's only going to be 1 round of qualifying, and then we'll come back with the qualifiers they've added this year, which there'll be 3 of those, and there'll be about 15 cars in each of those races. But, then we're going to be done by about 3 o'clock, and then it's status quo after that. They're going to go plow the track, work, and we don't come back until 7 with heat race action. So really not just a ton of laps on the track today. There'll be hot laps again, but, I think the bigger concern is they don't do group qualifying or anything like that here. It's heads-up qualifying. So as we all know, the track can change a lot more during the day than it changes at night. It could drop off a lot. So some of those guys with bigger numbers for this first round of qualifying are a little bit concerned that if they go out 123rd, they could be a second off the pace.
Hey, Ben, Jimmy Owens, a 2-time champion. He's the defending champion of this event here. He's got to be a favorite, no doubt, again. But who are some of the other drivers that you're looking at that's got a real shot at winning this crown jewel event of all dirt late model racing?
Well, you're right. You're right about Owens. And, it's hard to bet against Lanigan right now. He's having such a great year. He's never won this race. He's won the Dream. Same deal with Don O'Neill. Those 2 guys actually made sure they didn't win the race last year. They were probably the 2 fastest cars at the end, and they pretty well eliminated each other with some contact. But, you look at O'Neill and Lanigan. Of course, Moyer, the only 6-time winner of this race, he's a factor. And, Bloomquist has been snake bit here. But, I would say going into it, really probably Lanigan, Owens, and O'Neill. That's your 3 front runners.
And Don O'Neill and Lanigan have never won this event, right?
They have never won it. Like I said, they both had a really good shot last year, especially after Owens got some body damage late in the race, and he was kind of a sitting duck. But they got to racing each other so hard and beating and banging, it let Owens sneak away for the win.
Huh. Hey, Ben, I know we've got you on to talk about the World 100, but I got to ask you, somebody said that they saw a story that you wrote on Jake Griffin. It was just announced this week that he's going to be allowed to drive at the young age of 13 on basically a speedway up at Iowa Speedway. Your thoughts about the young kid?
Well, I tell you what, my first experience with Jake Griffin came in November 2010. I'd never heard of him, never met him, and they came to Riverside Speedway there in West Memphis, and we were having an end-of-the-year sprint car late model and modified special. And he brought his modified and his late model, and at the time the kid was 11 years old. And a lot of the late model guys, they were raising Cain. They said, we're at a quarter-mile bull ring, it's fast, this kid's going to tear us up. There were 28 cars there. He timed ninth. He ran eighth in the feature. And some of the guys that that complained about letting him race, he lapped them twice in the feature. So the kid really has a lot of potential. He's very composed for a young man. And, you know, he's earned it. He's been running asphalt all year up at Hawkeye Downs up there in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He's won like 4 modified features. He's come close in the late model. A lot of talent. I mean, it's really uncharted water for that age, but the young man has proven himself so far.
Let me ask you, Ben, because this was a topic we were talking about right before you came on. I'm against drivers under the age of 16, but I understand that there's talented drivers like Jake, like Trevor Hunt that races around our area. We see guys that have the talent to race at that level, but unfortunately, there's a lot of kids out there that think they're ready for that level, and their parents think they're ready for that level, but they're not. But, you know, they're blinded by the love of their children, thinking that they're the best. Should there? I mean, when I was growing up, you had to be 16 to race. Your thoughts on young guys getting a chance to race under the age of 16? I mean, we obviously drivers have different skill sets. We get that, but we got to be careful that we don't open up a can of worms for the kids that really don't have that talent that think they do.
I agree wholeheartedly, Scott. I see a lot of kids who their budget may, and it isn't that the kids don't have ability, but their budget exceeds their abilities. And because of that budget, they get thrown into bad situations. And, you know, there was the unfortunate fatality earlier this year with a young driver and a similar deal that, you know, may or may not have a factor his age. But I agree, you know, you push them hard. But I think that goes back to, you know, you look at Jake and, you know, he's raced on asphalt all year, and albeit not a 7/8 mile oval. And we'll see how it shakes down. I mean, it really is. But I agree. I think the age is getting kind of scary in some of this. I mean, you look back to when Jeff Gordon was coming up in sprint cars, you know, when he went to Speed Weeks, they had to lie about his age so that he could race. He was only like 15 years old, and there again, because he wasn't 16, they didn't want to let him out there. And now you talk about kids that are 11 years old and full-blown late models. I'm afraid the way NASCAR has shaken down the past few years, that literally if you're not there by the time you're 20, you're not going to make it. I'm afraid that's kind of created some, you know, incorrect mindsets for some parents.
But let's be fair to NASCAR on that, though. NASCAR and running the top 3 series, you've got to be 18, and you have to be 16 to run in the Camping World East-West Series. So people want to get to the fast road to the big bucks and all the success that comes with NASCAR. But at the same time, NASCAR has these regulations so young kids can't race at an age under 16. I don't think their bodies are matured enough to take the impact that you see that you could have, you know. I just don't think that their bodies are ready, or their minds for that matter. And what the heck? What's wrong with making somebody wait? Why do we always have to be on the fast track to stardom and all that? Why? I mean, when I was a kid, you had to wait, and most people had to wait. I don't know what the problem with that is. And, again, I understand that there's a lot of talent out there, young kids that could compete and really be good at a young age. But we've got to protect these other kids that are not ready for it, that their parents think they are.
Well, I think you hit something there with the mental aspect. I mean, I've seen, I'm not going to name names, but there's some of my clients, and I think mentally, you mentally exhaust these kids, and to the point that you don't ever get to see their ability because it gets in their head so bad. They're so afraid they won't perform that they're not able to because they can't get their head right. And again, they're kids. It's kind of like watching a college football game and getting mad at a guy that fumbles a punt and loses the game. You forget that sometimes that kid's 18 years old. That's not a 30-year-old man out there. And same deal in racing. You know, we got to keep in perspective that these are kids. But it's a fine line. It's just I think people are so afraid that if you know their kid's not discovered or isn't taken notice by the time they're 15, they have no chance. And let's be honest, there's tens of thousands of racers, and there's 40 to 50 realistic rides in the NASCAR world. And I think some of these parents have got to look at that big picture.
And another thing I've watched with Trevor Hunt, I've watched him more than, of course, I haven't been able to watch Jake Griffin as you have. But the one thing that I've noticed about these young kids, especially with Trevor Hunt, is the scrutiny that they're under, and the more people they deal with in the pit area after the races are over, signing autographs and handling the public, is more pressure for those kids, and they have to do more than just the average racer. And that is really a lot for a kid to handle, I think.
Oh, it is. I saw a race earlier this year where it was a Kenny Wallace night, and I forget where it was at. And after the races, there were more people waiting to meet Jake in the pits than there were Kenny. And, and it does. I mean, as a kid, at first, it's overwhelming, but then you realize, oh, my God, if I don't perform, in their mind, if I don't perform, I'm disappointing all these people. And that's really unfair.
That's a lot of pressure. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say the same thing, Kirk. I was going to say, what do you expect here with the World 100 this year, Ben? You know late models as well as anybody. What can we expect to see at the World 100?
Well, I think they're determined more than ever to have a good show. We had a good show back in June with the Dream, and I think it's going to be a good night tonight. I really do. I think it's going to be a good show, and we talked about those guys that we think will win, but I think the door's wide open for a surprise winner, maybe an Eddie Carrier Jr. or a Mike Marlar, and those would be fan favorites, and it's always good to see somebody different in victory lane. But I can say they changed the format a little bit, changed some of the payouts, car count, even with the threatening weather, 114 last year, 123 this year, so it has gone up, and that's the first time in several years the car count has not gone down here, so that is encouraging.
The one thing that I noticed when we were there for the World 100 is just how wild those heat races are. I mean, these guys, there's no hot laps before they get started. I mean, there's a lot of action in just those heat races.
It's unbelievable. I tell people, I've been to just about every big race in the country, whether it be sprint car or late model, and there's no feeling like 7 o'clock on Saturday night standing down on pit road and all 120 cars are down there getting ready for heat race action, and you can cut the electricity with a knife. Because, like you said, no hot laps before the heats go out. And that first heat goes out to a green racetrack, and nobody wants to go to a B main. And you just see guys maybe doing stuff they wouldn't normally do. It's really entertaining.
Ben, before we let you go, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our pay-per-view broadcast on ShortTrackNationals.com. It's the Short Track Nationals down at I-30 Speedway. Yourself, Tony Bachhoven, and I'm lucky enough to be a part of it. We're going to be doing the first paid-per-view broadcast of the Short Track Nationals. What kind of update can you give us, and what can people expect?
Well, if they go to ShortTrackNationals.com, I believe pricing is up for the deal now, and we're going to be announcing that if you buy a couple weeks before the event, we may have some special giveaways and drawings we're going to be doing. But everything's coming together. It's going to be exciting. We literally found out we're going to be able to run a cable to the infield. We're going to have a cameraman in the infield down in turns 3 and 4. And that's going to be a view a lot of fans have never got to see. And then, we've got 5 other cameras around the facility. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a great cast. As you said, yourself, Scott, myself, Tony Bachhoven, some of the best cameramen in the business, Jeff Converse, Steve Gigas. It's really going to be exciting. And, I think that event's going to have a big year this year. And, just really a lot of excitement. But then go to ShortTrackNationals.com as we continue to release information.
Yeah, Michael Rigsby is behind it. He's the brain behind the production, and we know what he's done with some of the races that he's done pay-per-view on Dirt. First-class operation when you talk about Michael Rigsby and the crew that he puts together.
Yeah, Michael, he's got it together. In fact, Eldora doing their first ever pay-per-view this weekend, and even though it's not us doing it, we're all giving them help. And they had some server issues last night, but they've had Michael helping debug it all weekend. So, that says a lot about him, that somebody else would bring him in for his expertise, even though it's not his pay-per-view. So, and of course, the guys from Knoxville, the Turn 2 Media, they're helping us with that. So it's really a good deal. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we want you there in the stands, but if you can't be there, this will be the next greatest thing.
Yeah, that's become one of the big dirt track events of not just Lucas Oil ASCS, but of every type of dirt track racing, that Short Track Nationals. So,
that's October 25th, 26th, and 27th. Again, ShortTrackNationals.com. It's easy to remember. Make your purchase now, and it sounds like you might get some added bonus if you purchase. So that's a pretty good deal. I can't wait, Ben. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. And thanks so much for being on with us, getting up early and being a part of Track Talk, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. And I guess it was all our lucky day because you called me in an area where I have cell phone signal up here, which doesn't happen very often in the cornfields of Ohio.
Yeah, that's right. And Eldora doesn't have the greatest cell phone streak, that's for sure. Hey, thanks a lot, Ben. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.